I woke up with a massive fucking erection this morning. Piping hard. Yeah, it must have been something I ate last night because that thing was like busting through. Oh, here we go. We're live. I'll tell you more about that later. Okay. R. Kelly had himself another terrible, horrible, no good, very bad day. And then another. And another. But what's worse? A slew of sex abuse claims? Or falling from 30,000 feet while flying coach in Ethiopia? We'll probe those miserable fates and take a fond look back at the early days of AIDS in the latest episode of the Savage Sack Tap. It starts right now.
You're listening to the Savage Sack Tap. It's not a podcast, it's not a half-cast, it's just a quick shot to the balls to help you finish off the week. We're cutting through the bullshit, filling your Friday with rage-fueled logic, and cracking a few jokes along the way. So grab a bag of frozen peas. There's a Savage Sack Tap coming your way.
Smooth, lascivious, salacious, outrageous.
I think I need to be a monster and hold girls against their will, chain them up in my basement, and don't let them eat and don't let them out unless they need some shoes down the street from their uncle. Robert, stop it. Y'all quit playing. Quit playing. Robert. I didn't do this stuff. This is not me. I'm fighting for my life. Y'all killing me with this. I gave y'all 30 years of my career.
Robert.
30 years of my career. Y'all trying to kill me. You killing me, man. This is not about music. I'm trying to have a relationship with my kids, and I can't do it. Y'all just don't want to believe the truth. You don't want to believe it.
Get that unplugged? Oh my, it is Mike Montone. Welcome to the Savage Sack Tap. I just realized I prepped my notes, but I didn't go over them this morning before the show like I usually do. So if I fumble and stumble my way through much of this episode like a complete fucking dope, now you know why. But yeah, R. Kelly, it's been quite a week, and a lot of stuff developing like late in the week, I guess, show prep wise, because it's only Thursday and most of this shit happened like Monday, Tuesday, Sunday night, etc. But I try to have like what I'm gonna talk about kind of in my head by Monday or Tuesday, so I can prep on Wednesday, and it's just been like the fucking flood has not stopped. I got fucking planes crashing in Ethiopia. I got celebrities paying shitloads of money to get their kids into fucking college. It's R. Kelly. It's a different fucking thing every day. People are watching this Michael Jackson documentary. There was a Gambino boss whacked last night out on Staten Island. There is just it's. Shit's like, I thought 2016, when we had all that election Trump shit going on, and there was a mass shooting every week at the Pulse nightclub in San Bernardino or wherever the fuck they were happening, I thought that was going to be like the apex of current events, and shit has only gotten baddier, and I love it. If you do shit like that, if you're in podcasting or any kind of media, it is like the Wild West days to be alive. I mean, there's just something absurd going on every day. I watch those old, like CNN does the 70s and the 80s, the 90s. They do like a documentary series on every decade. Whew. Man, this is good. The 2010s are going to be a good one. The 70s is good. The 70s, I guess, there was just a bunch of crime and assassinations and the Vietnam War. So there was a lot for that one. 80s was pretty cool. 90s a little bit of a lull. I mean, you had Clinton getting his dick sucked in the White House, but other than that, not a whole lot going on. The 90s were kind of tame, I feel like. And then the early 2000s, really, other than you had 9/11 and the Iraq War, but nothing major. Then what else is it? Like, NSYNC and the boy bands were back. But wow, the 2010s, baby, shit's getting real. Anyway, good morning. Yeah, R. Kelly, if you could hear that little intro montage we played there, absolutely melted the fuck down during an interview with Gayle King on CBS. And when shit like that happens, and obviously it's hilarious in a way to look at R. Kelly. Nobody believe me, man. Every time I hear him say "believe," I think he's gonna start singing "I believe I can fly." I just it just triggers he still hits that believe. Except this time he's talking about people not believing him about hog-tying teenage girls and urinating them and having sex with them and keeping them locked up, and it's not quite as romantic as the song. But there's no good way to react when you're being questioned in the media about that kind of stuff. Like either you go ballistic and you make like a public ass out of yourself and people are like, oh, he's full of shit, or you act too calm and you're like, no, I didn't do it. Talk to my lawyer, Mr. Bernstein. I assure you, he's quite Jewish. There's just any way you behave when that's happening, people are gonna be like, oh, this guy's fucking full of shit. You remember the Kavanaugh hearings when first he did that interview and people were like, oh yeah, he's way too calm. And then during the hearing, he was getting mad, and then like, no, he doesn't have the temperament to be a Supreme Court judge. Well, it's like, well, make up your fucking minds. If he's too calm and he doesn't, then you're gonna be like, oh, he doesn't care. Look at his callous indifference is what they call it, like when you're on trial for murder. And then if you get mad, they're like, oh, look at the temper on this guy. It's like, what the fuck? What do you want me to do? What do you want me to do? I'm being accused of all sorts of molesting. Of course, I'm flipping out. That would seem to be the natural response. If you accused me of being a molester, you'd probably get my Irish up as well, and I'm not even Irish. And I think that's a good sign that someone's mad is when they can become a nationality that they aren't, right? What would be the worst? You don't like the Irish are pretty bad, right? No one wants to be Irish. What would be like the worst one to be? You don't want to piss this guy off. You're really gonna get his Iranian up. If you get somebody's Indian up, they take a shit on the sidewalk and then ride a crowded train to work without taking a shower. Anyway, the R. Kelly's flip out did get me thinking. Like, have you ever heard? And of course, as a relatively newly single man, I check out the occasional dating article online so I can figure out how to get my hands on some of that tasty puss. They always say things like, your date's gonna judge you based on how you treat the waitstaff, right? It's kind of an easy barometer for what your personality's like, like how do you deal with someone who's serving you? And I was thinking, well, does this apply? Is this how R. Kelly always acts, the way he is in this interview? I mean, think of the different scenarios you could see R. Kelly in and behaving in this way. Could you imagine him? Could you imagine him at the tea? My thing's all frozen. I hate this. I've been working on putting together a clip show, and I have a lot of fucking stupid files saved on my desktop, which I know I'm not supposed to, and it's freezing the fuck out of my recording software here. But that's what happens when you're running a budget operation out of a studio apartment. But yeah, what the hell is R. Kelly like at TSA? Like he shows up with like a full-size bottle of Hennessy in his bag. What do you mean there's a 3-ounce limit? Robert can't check his bottle of Henny. I don't want to buy a new one at duty free. They jack up the prices. My fucking neighbors are probably going to wonder why I'm shouting about R. Kelly at 5 o'clock in the morning, too. Like, oh, does this fucking loser really record a radio show in his basement, impersonations of 90s hip-hop stars? No, technically R&B. What if he gets caught making an illegal turn on red? I was in a hurry, man. I had to get somewhere. There were no other cars coming. How stupid would I be to go if there was another car coming? Robert doesn't want to get in no accident. I don't want to get T-boned. I don't know if these are funny to me or just to other people, but I'm going to keep going because I have the bit written. What if R. Kelly is, who knows, because he might have celiac disease, and could you imagine if he showed up at a restaurant and there was not a wide, assortment of gluten-free options on the menu? Robert Kelly can't eat pasta? Wheat proteins are bad for him. Y'all trying to kill me, man. I got irritable bowels. My intestines can't handle it. Chronic inflammation. Oh my God, how many? Only 2 more. I really hope I'm not waking up the fucking neighbors with this, because I'm going to become very unpopular if I become known as the 5 a.m. R. Kelly guy. What if R. Kelly left the door open on his way in, and it's letting a draft in and making everybody chilly? I know the door always slams shut behind me. Why would you have to prop it open for it to stay open? Robert wouldn't do that, man. How are they cold? I walked in, they all had sweatshirts on. They should have been toasty and warm. I didn't leave no door open. I don't know how to leave a door open. Y'all gotta believe me. I promise this is the last one. Things not going very well for R. Kelly now. He's out of money. He may, just to pay court fees, he may have to take a temp job at an office, maybe doing some data entry, and office drones live for that coffee break. But what happens if R. Kelly pours himself a cup and doesn't refill the coffee pot in the break room? I could see that leading to a disastrous meltdown. I don't even drink coffee. I had a little decaf. Ain't nobody touched the decaf. It's still in there. If Robert wants caffeine, he gets a Red Bull from 7-Eleven. I go down the street. I talk to Ahmed. Okay. I'm sure you have all had enough of that, and I hope the audio didn't fucking peak too high and fuck up the recording on that. But oh well, yeah, wow. Quite a year for pop stars getting accused of sex abuse. And I know it was like the whole Me Too movement, but for a while it seemed like it was more like actors and in kind of in the movie world, and then all of a sudden they were like, oh no, we do it in music too. And everyone was like, hey, remember R. Kelly? And people were like, yeah, didn't he piss on a teenager? Yeah, it turns out he was doing that a lot. They just have the one time on video. The newest guy to come out with an R. Kelly video says he found it while he was looking through VHSs of old sporting events, which is weird. And he's like, oh, I just found it and I have no idea how it got in there. Really? You have a video of a celebrity having sex with a minor just in your you have your tapes. It's like, yo, 93 Super Bowl, that was a good one. 86 World Series, how could we forget? Ball gets by Buckner, gotta have that. The 94 Rangers. Was it 94? No, what year did the Rangers win the Cup? Maybe it was 95. I don't fucking know. Whatever the year they broke their silly little Stanley Cup drought. He's got all of those, and then it's like R. Kelly underage sex tapes. Hey, where did this? I don't remember recording this. How does one get their hands on the R. Kelly underage sex tape and then not realize it for a decade and a half, and then you're like, oh yeah, by the way, we were doing a little bit of spring cleaning every year around daylight saving time. We head into the garage and just try to clear out some junk. And I was looking through these old VHSs, and my wife wanted to throw them away because, she hates clutter. But I was like, honey, there could be some real gold in there. We ought to look through for a minute. And it turns out we have a video of, like, R. Kelly hog tying and defecating on an adolescent girl or whatever the fuck he's being accused of this time. But yeah, quite a year for documentaries exposing pop stars for sex abuse allegations. Speaking of which, Michael Jackson turns out the king of pop, also, and long rumored to be true, the king of molesting kids. Why am I lightly chuckling at that as I put my note card down? I think I've watched far too much late night TV where like Letterman and Leno and those guys, they kind of chuckle in between everything as like a comfortable transition. Not sure that's the thing I'm supposed to be doing while talking about rich men molesting children and then evading justice until they reach the icy grip of death. But 1 second. Anyway, yeah, my brother and I watched the first half of the Michael Jackson documentary on HBO this week, because that's what family does, right? On a Saturday, you get together, you have a few beers and a few laughs at the expense of kids who were molested when you were a child. Kids who essentially could have been you if you were like weirdly obsessed with Michael Jackson. They said, I guess he did a lot of grooming and a lot of molesting. He had the Neverland Ranch looked wild. He had like a movie theater. We had a movie theater in the ranch. And then out front he had, like, when you go to the movies and there's that glass case full of candy and it's the greatest thing you've ever seen. By the way, if you want to know the ultimate fucking move, get your favorite candy, get a big-ass thing of buttered popcorn, pour the candy into the popcorn so you're getting candy and popcorn in each handful. It is a delight. Unfortunately, they don't make fucking movies worth seeing anymore. It's all these stupid superhero movies that I'm not into. But I guess one of the kids, the way he was doing the molesting was, it was like exactly like the way like Motley Crue and Guns N' Roses used to pick up chicks after their shows. They would just kind of have like a handler and point chicks out in the crowd and be like, hey, yeah, you see the blonde with the big rack sitting on that loser's shoulders? Yeah, get me the blonde, ditch the loser. And they would kind of, compile a harem of women to come backstage and drink Bud Heavy and Jack Daniels and do cocaine and engage in a variety of deviant sexual acts. Michael Jackson, I guess, was apparently doing a bit of the same thing, except you swap out the cocaine and the Jack Daniels for fucking everlasting gobstoppers and other forms of delicious candies, maybe some Sour Patch Kids, maybe some Skittles and some jelly beans and all sorts of fun things, and it's all great until he slips his penis into your mouth. But yeah, that was like his shtick. And one of the kids was, I guess, there was sort of like a troupe of children who would dance to Michael Jackson songs, and this one kid went like all out. Like he had the haircut, like the sort of jerry curled mullet with into the rat tail that was the jam in the late 80s, early 90s. He was wearing like the leather jackets and the LA gear and all black. And this is back in the day. You have to remember, this is back when everyone thought that Michael Jackson was a straight up pussy hound. Because you were like in like the Thriller video and all that shit, like he's taking the chick out on the date, he's trying to sling some hog, and that was sort of the public perception of Jacko. And then this kid gets picked out, and his parents like, oh wow, you're gonna be best friends with Michael Jackson. And even grown women would see this kid on TV and stuff and treat him almost like women look at like Justin Bieber today, like he's like a little like heartthrob, because he would do like the worm and moonwalk and everything like that, and he'd have his shades on. And little did they know that he was getting molested every night by Michael Jackson. He had like this intricate system of like bells and alarms, so he could molest the kid at will in Neverland, and in case like someone was coming, it would trip off the alarm system, and they could throw their clothes on quickly. The documentary, he said they were running drills to make sure they could kind of get back to a state of clothed decency before anyone walked in on them playing grab ass. Like very, very detailed, really sick stuff. But if you went to, like, if you grew up with that kid and you couldn't fucking stand him, because you're like, oh, look at this, it's the stupid fucking Michael Jackson kid. Yeah, look, yeah, nice jacket, asshole, alright? You live in Australia, not LA, alright? You fucking cool it, okay? Oh, great. Oh, you learned how to do a fucking dance. Oh, that's not gonna get you anywhere in life. You know what that's gonna get you? Molested. If you didn't like that kid growing up, how good did you feel when you found out? Because he was probably shoving it in everyone's face that he was hanging out. Yeah, Michael. He probably calls him Michael, or has like a nickname for him that no one else knew. And he probably wouldn't shut the fuck up about how he spent the weekend at Neverland. How good do you think that kid's classmates felt when they found out that he got molested? Probably great. Huge win. If you hated that kid growing up, finding out that he got diddled by Michael Jackson is a big W. And by the way, these were not like, it wasn't just like, oh yeah, the pervert in the park had a present in his pants, and he grabbed my crotch a little bit, or he slapped my ass while I was walking by. These were like full out fucking suck sessions. The kid described, or the guy, he's a grown man now, he described essentially what you would call ejaculating for a child. He wasn't fucking pumping ropes out of his little prepubescent dick, but he said, like, he was like, yeah, like I started leaking, I guess it's just like a lot of pre-cum, I guess is what it would be. I'm not a urologist, but yeah, yikes. So the Simpsons pulled the Michael Jackson episode of course. If you remember, it's the one where Homer gets institutionalized, and he meets a guy inside who claims to be Michael Jackson, and it's Michael Jackson voices it, except for the singing part. I guess he has a voice actor do that, and he said the reason is just because he likes to fuck with his brothers, which I thought was weird. Is that like the gag in your family? Is molesting kids and tricking your brothers into thinking you're the one that's singing? But if you remember, it's Lisa, it's your birthday. Happy birthday, Lisa. But yeah, good episode. But they pulled it. I guess the Simpsons creators said, and they self-censored, by the way. It's not like people demanded it. They were just like, look, he was apparently using this episode to groom young boys to molest them, so we don't feel great about having it out there, which is fine. I mean, it's in Simpsons canon. It is one of the great episodes if you're a Simpsons fan, and it's out there on DVD. You're not gonna miss it if you go on Amazon right now and buy the box set from whatever season it was. You'll watch it plenty, and I'm sure it'll wind up on YouTube and available for download elsewhere. But I do get why they were like, we're not cool with having this out there anymore. We don't like the way it was used. But in light of all this, I think his lyrics do need a little bit of an upgrade. So, and I obviously cannot reach Michael Jackson's high pitched falsetto, so you will excuse me if I butcher any of these. I promise there's not as many of these as there were of R. Kelly gags. Hey, pretty baby with the high heels on, get out of the way so I can look at your brother's anus while I jerk off. What else do we have? I'm starting with the man in the mirror. I'm asking him to stop fucking little boys. I'm sorry, I cannot. I didn't. It's not like I warmed up my voice, but I was like, moo. I have to sing about molesting today. They told him, don't you ever come around here. Don't want to see you fucking little boys. You better disappear. Okay, enough butchering. I don't know if any of this is funny to anyone other than me. Again, I'm sorry, but look, when you're up at fucking 5 a.m. talking to yourself in your basement apartment, you know, it's an audience of one. Apparently, moving on from Michael Jackson. I'm sure we'll be talking plenty about him in subsequent episodes. I think subsequent actually means before. I don't fucking know. Apparently, they say they have a cure for HIV, which they've done it, I guess, twice now. If you're into unprotected anal and needle sharing, then that means the floodgates are open. And I fucking love science. I do love science, but I don't want to get into that today. But what I did pull up is a couple articles. They used to call this guy, whatchamacallit, they used to call this dude, this flight attendant, they used to say that he was patient zero in the HIV epidemic. But it turns out, I guess, it wasn't actually him. It's this Swedish flight attendant. He worked for, I think, like Air Canada or something. I got a couple articles I just want to go through real quick. Neither one too long. But when AIDS like first popped out, they thought they had traced it back to this flight attendant who was banging like every fucking dude on the planet. I got to. Jeez, I'm seeing the fucking pictures. It's fucking hilarious. Okay. Wow, this guy is he just flashes cock everywhere. Okay, here we go. Gaetan Dugas, I guess they call him. Gaetan Gudas's friend remembers the world's most infamous AIDS patient. The images are an unusual mix of sexual playfulness and innocence. A smiling, handsome blonde man swings gleefully in a park, legs spread. I like... Taken in 1980, they speak to a gay culture that hadn't yet been knocked senseless by AIDS. The smiling man seems to be saying, "Come and get me." I like... Yeah, playfulness and innocence. It's a picture of this guy leaning back on a park swing with his like big bulging cock sticking through his shorts. Gaetan was very sexual. He was always cruising, recalls Gaynor. I started taking some photos and he insisted I get his crotch as he was wearing short shorts and was going commando. He was like, "Get a picture of my dick." It was typical of him. He was being outrageous. Well, the guy does sound like a fucking hoot. He'd probably love this show. Yeah. And they had no idea that the AIDS was coming. Where's the Jesus. Yeah, this like every picture of this guy is just his dong bulging out. Ba-da-ba. Sorry, scrolling through this. I'm sure that made for terrible live streaming radio. But what are you gonna do? But anyway, yeah, this is just an interview with a friend. He's got a couple Oh, this is this is one of the quotes that I loved. Gaetan had a wonderful style about him, a great wit, and he loved sex. He said it was his goal to have sex with a different man every night. He was a party boy. He loved being outrageous. Wow, what a movie line though. If you were gonna make a movie about this Gaetan character, and he really was, they later cleared him and said he wasn't patient zero. I guess there were a lot of people who kind of early on in AIDS were spreading it, but obviously because this guy's a flight attendant and he's traveling all over the world and he's fucking so many different guys, which we'll get to that. We'll get to that in a moment here. I have a couple paragraphs from this other article that I want to go through, that he's just jet set and he's fucking different dudes in different countries all the time. And remember, the reason that AIDS spread so prevalently against among the gay community and why it kind of got called a gay disease is because unprotected anal sex is like the easiest way to spread AIDS, because of the way the membranes in the penis and the anus are. The skin in the penis tears easily, and the anus, I guess, absorbs things very quickly. Like that's why they like, you ever hear about people shoving drugs like into their, like not like a drug mule, like a condom full of drugs, like actual just shoving like ecstasy or what. I think last week we were talking about a guy who shoved methamphetamine up his ass to get high quicker. So you can imagine that would also, if you have AIDS infected blood, make it much easier to absorb. They say the mouth actually is not. They say the mouth kills HIV. It's not a hospitable environment for it. But yeah. What was I saying? Oh yeah. So you can understand how they'd be like, yeah, you probably gave AIDS to a lot of guys. You might not be patient zero, but you definitely spread AIDS all the fuck over the place. But okay, so I have this other article. This is from Time, The Appalling Saga of Patient Zero. And like I said, no real conclusive point to this part of the show. I'm just because the HIV cure thing popped up, I wanted to go back and retell the story of this guy because it is fascinating. How much ass this guy plowed. I mean, even as a hetero dude, I think we can all appreciate an absolute cocksman going out there and slinging it. Although I guess in the gay community, you kind of wind up with an asterisk next to your name because you were only banging dudes, and it's not as much of an accomplishment because dudes are pretty much DTF 24/7. But I think they have this scene from the club baths in San Francisco, November 1982, and it says, "When the moaning stopped, the young man rolled over on his back for a cigarette. Gaetan Dugas reached up for the lights, turning up the rheostat so slowly so his partner's eyes would have time to adjust. He then made a point of eyeing the purple lesions on his chest. 'Gay cancer,' he said, almost as if he were talking to himself. 'Maybe you'll get it too.'" And like I was saying before, what like a perfect movie, like this guy's dropping movie lines. Like before when the guy's like, he wanted to have sex with as many men as possible. And then he's like, "Gay cancer, maybe you'll get it too." Like you could almost hear the dramatic music heightening in the background as the little AIDS spores are working their way into some twink's bloodstream, and he has no idea that in 6 years he's going to be emaciated in a hospital bed somewhere. Yeah. Since the early days of the AIDS epidemic, researchers have reasoned that a handful of people, maybe even a single individual, bore the unknowing responsibility for having introduced the disease to North America and its first large group of victims, the homosexual community. By tracing sexual contacts, officials at the CDC found a likely candidate, one man, who, through his sexual liaisons and those of his bedmates, could be linked to 9 of the first 19 cases in Los Angeles, 22 cases in New York City, and 9 more in 8 other cities. In all, some 40 of the first 248 cases in the U.S., the CDC acknowledged. The CDC acknowledged his role with an eerie sobriquet. It called him Patient Zero. I want to go back to those numbers quite briefly. Do you realize that this guy, if let's just say it's because they're saying now he wasn't patient zero, but let's just say for argument's sake that he infected just a fraction of these people. This guy infected more guys with AIDS than most people will than most dudes, most hetero dudes will bang in a lifetime. Like, what's the average schlub do, right? You figure, I'll be generous here and say that you're an average guy at a state school who goes to a state school for college and gets married, say, 5 years after graduation. So, let's say you bang one girl in high school, you date her until the end of your freshman year, break things off, and then you bang a chick a semester after that, would put you at 7, and then let's say 5 years, you get married 5 years after college graduation. That requires at least a 3-year relationship leading into it. So I'm going to give you your wife becomes number 8, and then let's say in the 2-year span there before you get married, maybe you're dating around, maybe you bang another 4 in there. So let's say the average guy has, and some of these aren't even, I won't even call these all full out bangs because, you know, again, we're talking about the average schlub. Maybe he gets, you know, maybe a couple of them are handies, couple blowies, couple situations where he was going to bang the chick, but he was drunk or nervous and he couldn't get a rod. So let's say the average dude kind of barely tickles the double digits. And I'm sure most of the population is probably actually below that because there are a lot of forever alone motherfuckers out there. So this guy gave AIDS to more people than like multiple average men will sleep with in a lifetime. Think of that. Imagine that. And wow. And I wanted to check out the this last paragraph, and then we'll move on to some other stuff I wanted to talk about. But now Patient Zero is publicly identified for the first time in a stunning new book on the AIDS epidemic, and the band played on. Zero says, wow, I guess, is that like they're saying that, yeah, AIDS was out there, but we loved butt fucking so much that we didn't want to stop the party, so, you know, the band played on. Zero, says author Randy Schiltz, was Gaetan Dugas, a handsome blonde steward for Air Canada who used to survey the men on offer in gay bars and announce with satisfaction, "I'm the prettiest one." God damn it, this is one theatrical motherfucker. I mean, these lines are getting I wonder if the guy who wrote the book punched up the script a little bit. Using airline passes, he traveled extensively and picked up men wherever he went. Dugas developed Kaposi's sarcoma, a form of skin cancer common to AIDS victims. I guess that's the gay cancer he was talking about on his chest. In June 1980, before the epidemic had been perceived by physicians, I was talking about in the other podcast I got a fucking rash all over like my chest and shit a long time ago. It was like atopic dermatitis, the bad reaction, I guess, to some construction dust at work, which I'm obviously going to get one of those fucking 9/11 cancers now in like 10 years, which I'm looking forward to that. But when I was looking up, like, I was like, sores on, like, rashes on my chest, looks like ringworm, and it came up like this gay skin cancer thing. I was like, no, no, not me. Not that there's anything wrong with that. But I actually, I learned about it when I was researching that shit. Mine went away with a little bit of moisturizer. I don't think that that applies with this, but told later he was endangering anyone he slept with, Dugas unrepentantly carried on. By his estimate, with 250 partners a year until his death in March 1984, adding countless direct and indirect victims. Holy shit, he was fucking 250 dudes a year. Who even has the energy? I don't want to deal with 250 people in a year. Like, if you told me I could bang 250 chicks in a year, I would be all about the idea of it, but the act of... And I guess that's the difference between homos and heteros, is for a guy to bang a chick, there has to be a little bit of that sort of, that dance of seduction where you're like, hey, come on, back to my place, you want to do it, I think these guys are just kind of meeting in a bar and going and fucking one out in the bathroom, I always reference this scene in Traffic when I'm talking about gay sex, when Benicio del Toro arrests Frankie Flowers. He just meets him at the bar, shows him a cigarette pack with a condom in it, and they slide into the bathroom, and I guess Flowers thinks they're gonna fuck. He obviously winds up getting arrested and tortured, but I'm going to end on this line because it's probably my favorite thing that I've read in all of my show prep for this episode. At least one man indignantly hunted him down. Dugas's charm proved unfailing. He sweet-talked the man into having sex again. What fucking line was this guy using that he gives someone AIDS? AIDS! And I'm not talking like AIDS now when we're like, yeah, take a pill, you'll be fine. Could run into a problem if you catch a cold. But I'm talking 1980s death sentence in like 2 years AIDS. And this guy is like, well, I mean, I got it already. There's no turning back. We may as well, right? Let's, get those pants off. Jesus. Leave it to men, huh? Maybe this is why women want to replace, they want to get rid of white men. It's like, look, you fucking dopes. Even when AIDS is on the line, you can't keep your fucking pants on. Yeah, what a world. What a world. What else do we have going on? Real quick. Yeah, there were 2 other stories that I was like, I could try to squeeze these in, but I don't have time, and they all kind of developed right after I had my shit together. Like I said earlier, Gambino boss whacked out on Staten Island. There has been a light uptick in mob activity in the city of late. I want to say it was like over the summer or maybe in the spring. They whacked a guy at I think he was a maid guy in the Bonanno family. They whacked him at a McDonald's drive-thru in the Bronx, and they had tried to hit his son a little bit earlier outside of his home. His son was an associate, and they fucking bungled the hit. It was horrible. There's surveillance footage of it, and the worst hitman ever. Like, I have watched a shitload of mob movies. I read every book about the mafia. Like, I'm pretty sure, given the equipment, I could pull off a pretty successful mob hit. This was just terrible. I mean, the guy's lying on the ground with his arms up, like, blocking his face, and the fucking hitman is like, I don't know if you've ever seen the Chappelle Show skit Friday Night Sissy Fights. You know the way they're like slapping at each other and kind of backing away? That's the way this shitty hitman was shooting at this guy. He was like backing away from him while the guy's on the ground. You're supposed to clip this fucking guy. You got paid to do the hit. Go up and blast him in the fucking face. You know what I'm saying? But anyway, yeah, they got this. They got the head of the Gambino family out in Staten Island. The last time a Gambino boss got hit in New York was actually Paul Castellano. They got him at outside of Sparks Steakhouse in Midtown. That was the move that propelled John Gotti, the Dapper Don, into the head spot in the Gambino family, and actually ultimately led to its downfall, because as famous and sort of beloved as John Gotti was, as like a celebrity gangster, he was not a very good mob boss. Very kind of cool, entertaining public figure, but man, was he a shitty mob boss. And his son was not exactly brilliant at the job either. What else? Oh yeah, and then this we got this college admissions thing. I will dive into it eventually. But what we have right now is Aunt Becky from Full House is involved, and apparently the actress, I forget her fucking name, that's married to William H. Macy is involved too, which means that William H. Macy is obviously also involved, which I very rarely love Twitter memes because most people are so stupid, but this is, I will hand it to Twitter this time, this is like the most William H. Macy thing to ever happen. Every William H. Macy character ever could get involved in something like this. Like, this is so out of Fargo, it's not even well, it is funny. It's very funny. But anyway, coming up in a second, what do we have here? I got this guy in a MAGA hat getting kicked out of bars in New York City, and the Catholic Church versus Saturday Night Live. Those are coming up in a moment here, if I can fire them up real quick on my iPad. Well, it's not an iPad, it's a tablet. Ba-da-da-da, ba-da-da-da, One second here. I'm very unprofessional today. It's been a busy week. I'm sorry. I'm going to use Washington Post. No. Nothing from, like, the New York Post is that's who I want to get this from. Oh well, Inside Edition. No, not fucking YouTube. There we go. Come on. Alright, there we are. Sorry about that, folks. Okay, yeah, so we have a bartender from an Upper West Side bar suspended from his job because he kicked out this Trump supporter who... This guy looks a lot like my Uncle Tommy. Like, I am not fucking around, and dresses like him, too. Minus the fact that my uncle is no fan of Donald Trump, but holy shit, I gotta text him. I gotta text him this fucking picture. He's gonna lose his shit. But anyway, bartender is I guess suspended, or did he get fired or suspended? Suspended because he kicked out this guy wearing a "Make America Great Again" hat. And normally I would side with the guy in the MAGA hat, but further inspection reveals this guy to be kind of a douche. Dion Cheney, a 50-year-old conservative activist known for various pro-Trump publicity stunts, says he was enjoying an order of fish and chips at the college-friendly watering hole last Wednesday. Okay, well, there's a lot of weird packed into that sentence. A 50-year-old man who's obsessed with Donald Trump is just hanging out at a college bar eating fish and chips in his MAGA hat. I'm assuming he was there probably trying to troll some Columbia students or something like that. But says he was abruptly bounced by two of the bar's employees, and he captured the ensuing confrontation on video, in which he can be repeatedly heard calling the bartender a soy boy, asking him if he hates America, and pleading with the security guard to let him stay. Let me see, is this,
Grab it again. No, I'm not going to grab it. I'm chilling. Yeah. Wow.
now I hate the bartender too.
Soy boys? Soy boys? Soy boy. Yeah, soy boy. You ever heard that expression? Your boss is going to be happy about that, right? Oh, for sure. You sure?
Wow, okay. Oh, fuck, how do I get out of this stupid thing? Yeah, so he called him a soy boy a couple times. I do appreciate this guy. So this guy just thinks the internet is... Apologies. My phone just started ringing and it said I had a call coming in from Belarus. I have no idea where my information has been sold to, but apparently they're watching. Who the fuck's calling from Belarus? Anyway, I really appreciate how this guy thinks the real world is like an internet chat. Like, he's using... I don't know if anyone has ever been called a soy boy in real life. Like, I think I've only seen that in print. Let's see. Reach for comment on Monday. Chinny said he'd been patronizing the bar in his red visor for years. No, I don't... It's weird that, wow, yeah, he's really doing it. Here he is kayaking in his Trump visor. Who wears a visor? And who kayaks in the Hudson River? I have a lot of questions about this guy. He says he was under the impression that Jake's Dilemma, which is the bar, which shares an owner with 13th Step, Off the Wagon, Off the Wagon's pretty sweet, and a half a dozen other bro-centric bars across the city, was operated by Trump supporters. And this is where, I mean, other than this guy being kind of a tool, you know, normally I'd be like, all right, you're just a tool, you know, you're trolling these guys, whatever. I guess he says he's bringing a lawsuit against the bar for the alleged mistreatment. So this is where, and I'm gonna shut it down there. So it turns out that what this guy does is that he goes to these businesses, because this isn't the first time he's filed a suit. He did it against another place for the right to wear a MAGA hat inside. I have no problem people walking around with MAGA hats. Like, if you're a Trump voter, like, that's your hat. That's what you do. I don't give a shit. I think it's, you know, I think it's weird to wear the hat of your political team, but then again, I do have a t-shirt from when I donated to the Gary Johnson campaign, so, you know, far be it for me to judge other people's political attire. But I do have a problem with the guy going and filing a fucking lawsuit, because now, especially against a second place, because now what you have become is, you know, those they're gay couples who will seek out bakeries or Christian establishments that don't want to cater their weddings or serve their weddings or whatever, and they'll use that and target them for lawsuits. That's how, if you ever see these cases coming up about, like, you know, a bake shop that doesn't want to make a cake for a gay wedding, or a flower shop who doesn't want to provide flowers for a gay wedding or something like that, usually the way these things come up is people will know that that's the deal at that place, that it's like a Christian establishment, whatever, and that's just not their bag. And activist gay couples will seek them out so that they will get rejected and they can file a lawsuit. It's activism. It's not, you're not suing because you were discriminated against or because you were hurt by these actions. You're suing because you want to make a scene, you want to embarrass these people, you want to forward your cause, which I think is incredibly disingenuous, whether you're a Trump-supporting MAGA lover or whether you're a gay married cock lover, and anyone in between. I don't think we should be going out looking to sue other people. That doesn't help us. There are guys who will do it if a building that they don't even live in or work in or have anything to do with, if it doesn't have a wheelchair ramp, they will sue because they'll sue for damages as well as to get the ramp put in. Because the place isn't in accordance with the Americans with Disabilities Act. Like there are people out there who take these like well-meaning legal precedents and will use them to sue just to be a fucking asshole. And it sucks because there probably are people out there who may have a legitimate grievance and want to file a lawsuit or whatever, and it turns opinion against them, right? It makes everyone go like, fuck that guy, he's just making a bunch of fucking noise, because you think he's just like the asshole who showed up with... Anytime someone shows up and starts recording an interaction between people, like you see it happen a lot with cops. Someone will like goad and egg on an officer for like 5 minutes and get the guy really riled up, and then pull their phone out and start recording the incident when the cop's already annoyed. So it's like, yeah, fucking cops, dicks, man. Like, no, like you fucking pushed his buttons forever and then you jammed a camera in his face. Like, anyone would get irritated by that. Obviously, as a professional law enforcement officer, he should know better. But you get my point. There are people out there who will take kind of vulnerable situations and use them to engage in what is essentially just self-serving litigation. And we have a word for those people: fucking assholes. And this guy just seems to be a complete fucking jerk off. He was also apparently, what they don't show in his video, surprise, surprise, everyone at the bar says that he was like drunk and disruptive and hurling anti-Semitic remarks around. So he probably listens to this show, by the way. So if you're out there, Mr. Chinny, is that his name? I kind of think you're a douche. But anyway, moving on. Oh, by the way, yeah, all of that is allegedly. I don't, since he is rather litigious. Moving on. But yeah, the moral of the story is, don't be a fucking asshole and do that kind of stuff. That's all I want to say. We don't need more of that. I hate it. I go fucking nuts. I go nuts whenever one of those stupid gay bakery cases reaches the Supreme Court, and I get annoyed when this shit happens too. Anyway, last story here, and we are reaching the end of the hour, so I will go quickly. I mean, it's from USA Today, so it can't be that long, right? They put 50 fucking ads in to stretch the entire thing out. Boy, do I hate digital media. Catholic Diocese demands apology from SNL after Pete Davidson compares church to R. Kelly. And they're right. It is not right to compare the Catholic Church to R. Kelly. The Catholic Church has molested far, far more innocent children than R. Kelly ever could. Sorry, the stupid fucking thing auto-reloads because, again, digital media fucking blows. The Diocese of Brooklyn is not laughing at Pete Davidson's latest comparison on SNL. During the show's Weekend Update segment, the comedian likened supporters of the Catholic Church, which has seen a sex abuse scandal encompassing thousands of priests, to fans of R. Kelly, who is facing 10 counts of aggravated criminal sexual abuse. If you support the Catholic Church, isn't that like the same thing as being an R. Kelly fan? I don't really see a difference. Only like one's music is significantly better. I don't know. The few times I have been in church, I do kind of like the "alrighty then." also like how the church is, it's just some guy who can't really sing that well, and he's just singing what everybody does. And now we're rising up, and everybody stands. And now we're kneeling down, and everybody kneels. And it's just like that the entire time, which does make it easier if you're a godless heathen like myself to kind of follow along. Look, I'm not saying it's an easy decision. I'm just saying you don't know how good someone's music is until you find out they're a pedophile. And the Catholic Church did not appreciate that. Here's their statement. Apparently, the only acceptable bias these days is against the Catholic Church. The faithful of our church are disgusted by the harassment by those in the news and entertainment, and this sketch offends millions. The mockery of this difficult time in the church's history serves no purpose. The clergy sex abuse crisis is shameful, and no one should ever get a laugh at the expense of the victims who have suffered irreparably. The Diocese of Brooklyn strives every day to ensure that sexual abuse by clergy never happens again. The diocese said it has instituted widespread changes to prevent abuse, and that it's likely that no other institution has done more than the Catholic Church to combat and prevent sexual abuse. No institution, by your own admission, by the way, has done more to cover up and sweep aside hundreds of years of abuse. I mean, Jesus, get off your high fucking horses and show some humility, you fucks. Serious, isn't Catholicism, Christianity as a whole, the entire idea of Jesus to be humility, and admitting your sins and accepting where you were wrong and accepting judgment for those sins? I mean, that Pete Davidson made a joke about the horrible thing that you did. His joke is not you can't molest a bunch of kids and then have someone make fun of you for molesting kids and then turn around and be like, hey, this is no time for jokes, mister. A lot of kids got molested. Like, yeah, because of you. You're the one that was molesting the kids. We're not making fun of the kids. We're making fun of you, the molester, and the people who continue to follow and support your now notorious molesting organization. Your organization, which, by the way, appears to have been built around molesting. Like, that's what it looks like. It looks like these guys are like, yeah, 10 Commandments, Jesus, the Bible, yeah, Easter, resurrection, all that good stuff, but when do we get to fuck the kids? I mean, it really sounds like the entire, the creation of the Easter Bunny, it's a priest inside the costume. If Santa Claus is an overweight alcoholic trying to make a couple bucks so he can afford child support or a shitty secondhand Christmas gift for his kid, then the Easter Bunny is most definitely just a priest who found a way to get shitloads of children on his lap inside of a Saturday afternoon. He's like, well, I got the sermon for tomorrow is all done. What do you say? I throw on the bunny outfit and head down to the mall. Yeah, no, we get to make fun of the Catholic Church because you guys were molesting kids. This isn't about the kids who got molested. Those are innocent victims. This is about the grown men who committed the molesting and then the other grown men who helped cover up the molesting. And not even, like, helped cover the molesting up, like they defrocked the guys, kicked them out, and were like, hey, look, we're going to give you the benefit of the doubt here because you served the church for so many years. We're not going to tell the cops, but you're out. You're not one of us anymore. No. They just said, all right, you fucked up in Boston. Let's see how you do in Kansas City. What are the kids in Kansas City not as sexy as the kids in Boston? The kids in Boston can't be very sexy either. Have you heard the fucking? I got wicked molested. Yeah, Father O'Brien's got a wicked pecker. Like, yeah, he popped it in my mouth, but he bought me 2 tickets for the Sox. So whatever, Sometimes you gotta take a load in the mouth if you want to see Poppy hit one over the monster. You know what I'm saying? Go Sox. Jeter can suck my cock the way I sucked off Father O'Brien. I don't know if that's a good Boston accent. Scotty Richards, if you're watching, let me know if that Boston accent was decent. But yeah, they weren't punishing or getting rid of these guys. They were just reassigning them. Well, we're gonna have you've been doing some great things for the church. You have had an issue or two up here. We're gonna have to ask you to. We do have an opening in our Miami branch. Could we get you to move down there? There are a lot of young Cuban boys, but don't touch them. With the fucking church. And it's funny, when I was a kid, it was like weird to tell people that my family didn't go to church. It was like this odd thing because everyone in town went to church, and my friends would go on like these weekend church retreats, and I'd almost feel borderline left out. Like my weekend, and then I realized that my weekend of lifting weights, masturbating to the computer in the basement at my parents' house, and like stealing liquor with the other couple of derelicts who weren't on the church retreat, and maybe committing a little bit of petty vandalism out around town, was actually the same thing I do for fun today, but was actually more wholesome than the going and supporting the organization that has led to the destruction. I'm going to put this: the destruction of thousands of lives. Right? Because if I, as an adult, have a bad or unfortunate sexual encounter, of which I have had a number, I can get over it with a little bit of booze, some time, and masturbating to a picture of a more attractive woman on my laptop here. If you're a child and you have a bad sexual encounter, well, one, you're not supposed to be having sexual encounters at all, particularly not with grown men who your family trusts to guide you on the right path in life. But it will derail your entire mental development for the rest of it. Not to mention the fact that you could wind up getting like herpes or some shit from one of these fucking deviants. So yeah, the Catholic Church, I spend so much time too, by the way, defending the faithful, because I've served with a lot of very religious guys, and I get it. I understand that religion has a place in people's lives. It doesn't really have a place in my life, although I have been, I find some of the Buddhist teachings pretty fascinating. I think there are good things that we can draw from religion, and I think in a lot of ways it does guide people down a good path, especially there are people who need it, right? There are just people who don't function well without it. I don't think it's wrong for those people, but it is wrong and incredibly disingenuous for the Catholic Church to come out and say this. And it's a PR move. It's because Catholics are thinking about, there's an article, a poll came out yesterday that said that Catholics are like considering leaving the church in fucking droves because of this scandal. So obviously the church is trying to do some damage control, but be humble. Show some fucking humility. Maybe take an example from Jesus, your guy. The dude around whom this entire thing that you guys have going revolves. And that's that. Well, we had some fun moments today, some retarded moments today, some unprofessional moments today, but now I have to go start the work day today, which kind of sucks. I always hate doing that. But the audio version of this will be up and available on the website by tomorrow. Until then, you can entertain yourselves with the live stream here. Facebook.com/The Savage Crew I think I forgot to plug social before because I'm an idiot. So here it comes now. Facebook.com/The Savage Crew. At Mike Montone on Twitter. At Gary_Moyler MOYLER on the Instagram. I promise I will have my shit a little bit more together next week. Like I said, this was just some weeks just turned into fucking nightmare weeks, and with the daylight saving, and I lost a big chunk of show prep time yesterday because we had some stuff going on with work. I had to go on location somewhere, and it ate away at my prep time. But no excuses. We'll do better next week. And you can, of course, find the show at thesavagecrew.libsyn.com. Thank you guys for tuning in. Please, please, please share this shit with your friends. Thank you.